Right, the Chancellor, Philip Hammond, says he's increasing national insurance for many self-employed workers because of new challenges. He's facing growing pressure from members of his own party who say the announcement in the budget goes back on a Tory pledge before the last general election and risks damaging businesses and job creation. But the Chancellor says the tax rise is needed.
We face some new challenges which we have to rise to, and I'm doing that within a very constrained environment where most taxes cannot be raised and much of our spending is also ring-fenced and committed. And we are navigating within those confines to try and prepare Britain for Brexit, make sure that we're match fit for Brexit.
So who stands to lose out and by how much? Our political reporter Peter Soul has this bite-sized guide.
The changes to national insurance for the self-employed is the biggest talking point from the Chancellor's budget. It'll leave around 2.5 million people worse off. So the chances are, even if it doesn't affect you, it'll affect someone you know. At the moment, the self-employed pay what's called Class 2 and Class 4 national insurance. Class 2 applies to all those who make at least £6,000 a year, and it costs £2.80 a week. Now, the government announced last year that Class 2 would be scrapped. That comes in April 2018, saving all self-employed people around £150 a year. But the rises in yesterday's budget apply to Class 4. So, at the moment, the Class 4 rate is 9% on profits between £8,000 and £43,000, with an extra 2% on profits over that amount. That rate is now going up to 10% next April and then 11% in April 2019. Taking both changes into account, if you earn less than £16,250, you're not affected. But, for example, if you earn £25,000 a year, you'll save £150 from the scrapping of Class 2, but in 2 years' time, you'll be paying £340 more. So overall, £190 worse off than you are now. On average, the changes take £240 out of the average self-employed person's pocket. That's a lot of numbers. So, to sum it up, national insurance for the self-employed earning a decent income will go up. Not immediately, but gradually over the next few years.
Thanks to Peter Saul for that bite-sized guide. Well, Simon McVicker is Director of Policy for the IPSE, the Association of Independent Professionals and Self-Employed. He says they're disappointed by the news.
Yesterday was not a good day if you are self-employed. I mean, self-employed people are extremely hard-working. They take on a lot of risk, and they bring in a lot of money into our economy, and yet this has not been recognised by the Chancellor. Instead of that, he has decided to put their taxes up quite considerably. You know, when you set up your own business as a self-employed person, you take on all the risk. You don't get holiday pay, you don't get sick pay, you have to find your own work. Sometimes your financial position can be quite precarious. I know people have lost their houses, through being self-employed. So there's a huge risk to it, but there's also huge rewards to it as well. You have the freedom of working on your own, picking who your clients are, and, doing what you generally love. It will affect everybody over about 16,000 a year, and no one wants a tax rise. But I think a couple of £100 a year is quite a lot in this climate. And this could be, we think, the start of more attacks on self-employed people, because the government have a review going on by Matthew Taylor, and some of the signs coming out of that are not looking very good for the self-employed.
Simon McVicker there from the IPSE. If you are self-employed, you're still digesting the news that the Chancellor's gone back on a Tory pledge not to raise national insurance contributions. Some experts, as we're hearing there today, saying it makes the tax system a little bit fairer. If you're self-employed, do you agree? Let me know. 81333. Start your text with the word North.